You know, you have to be stupid to believe in it. And anybody who heard my sermon on Wednesday night and still believes in it today on Sunday is stupid. And you come up to me after the service and tell me that I'm wrong, and you come up to me after the service and tell me that I'm wrong, and I'll tell you you're stupid. The flat earth supposedly can be disproved so easily that you'd have to be an idiot to believe in it. And I'm standing by what I said.
They worshipped the beast, saying,
Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
With your naked eye. I've seen it. You know, you look up and people are looking at it, and they got their binoculars and they're looking at it, and you know, it's a little light dot and it's moving. No.
Elon Musk is the card, but Elon Musk is sending up huge rockets into the space, right? He's sending these rockets up. Do you know what he plans to do next? He's going to put people on them and send them up to the moon. The people that have the money, they're going to go up to the moon. What are they going to do? They're going to look out the windows and photograph the earth. Think of all these people that are going to be going up. And this is a few years, it's not long in the future. And they're going to be photographing this round, blue, beautiful planet out here in space. Thousands of photographs and videos from the space station as it moved in the heavens above the earth. It such a magnificent sight, it took his breath away. Right now you can log on to the internet if you want to, and you can go to the International Space Station, the ISS, and you can get a live feed from that space station. Right now you can watch it as it moves across the face of the earth. When they are in possession of that enormous amount of material that proves that this earth is a globe, do you know what they think about us?
You know, flat earthers say that, of course, the earth is flat. They say that the idea of the earth being a round globe is part of a massive, huge cover-up, conspiracy. Now, I will agree that if the earth is in fact flat, then it would be the biggest cover-up, or one of the biggest cover-ups around the world, or on the world. And a lot of the flat earthers, they attribute this conspiracy to none other than El Diablo, Satan. And they say that Satan wants everyone to believe that the earth is a round globe instead of flat. And I never could quite understand why Satan wants everybody to believe the earth is a round globe. They also bring up Freemasonry. You hear this a lot. You hear that on Flat Earth videos, NASA is all run by Masons.
Well, they're wrong, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, against cosmic powers of the heavenly realms.
So apparently, this is what the Flat Earth people say. They say that there is a giant cover-up, a giant satanic cover-up. Satan wants everybody to believe that the earth is a round globe, and the Masons are the ones who are involved in covering up the shape of the earth on behalf of Satan. Now,
again, there's nobody that knows about this deception except for who God sent that knows.
All of the information related to the idea of the earth not being a globe, that it is in fact being flat, and all these videos say that it is Satan covering up the shape of the earth to convince everybody that evolution is true. Now, the Bible, beyond any book in the world, actually reveals all of the secrets that Satan wants to keep. Jesus said there is nothing hidden but what shall be revealed. God reveals the deep and the secret things, the Bible says. So, if I look in Isaiah 14, where it talks about Lucifer, it actually says in Isaiah 14 what Lucifer's big plans are. Lucifer's big plans are. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will ascend into heaven.
I will ascend into heaven.
I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, above the stars of God.
Above the stars of God.
I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds.
I will ascend above the heights of the clouds.
I will be like the Most High, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Now here, I mean, this pretty much covers it. This basically gives us what Satan's plan is. In Ezekiel 28, verse 13, thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. And then it says in verse 14, thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. Thou wast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled thee, the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Then it's going to tell, again, what was in his heart. Thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will cast thee to the ground. I will
cast thee to the ground.
Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities and by the iniquity of thy traffic.
Defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities and by the iniquity of thy traffic.
Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee, and it shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to the ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold them. Again, there's nothing here about a global conspiracy. 2 Thessalonians 2 gives us some ideas about the Antichrist. And it says, let no man deceive you. This 2 Thessalonians 2:3. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped. So the Antichrist hates God as much as Satan does. So what does the Antichrist do? What's his secret plan?
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
So that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. There is nothing in the Bible, anywhere, about a satanic conspiracy.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
To cover up the real truth behind the shape of the earth. But since they have never shown any reference from the Bible or any Masonic literature, since they have never shown actual proof that that's the conspiracy, then I have to assume that they're just not telling the truth.
Verily, verily, I say unto thee, we speak that we do know, and testify that we have seen, and ye receive not our witness.
If you believe in the flat earth, you are a complete idiot.
What do you expect me to believe? We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour? You know?
Why can I jump up and down? Why is it not just... Where were we? The earth that's spinning.
Hey, well, how do you know that we're not standing still? You know that we're not standing still.
Where were we? Where were we? Earth is spinning. So if the earth that's spinning, earth, where were we? It's spinning. Then it would be like everything is like, I mean, at amazing speeds. This problem of the fact that there's 7 or 8 other planets. But anyway, you know, there's 8 other planets. But anyway, planets going around the sun too. That's kind of where this geocentricity thing falls apart. Planets doesn't work. Okay. Here, spinning, but planets spinning, but planets spinning, but it's actually the earth that's spinning, Either way, the earth that's spinning.
And almost all flat earth videos are like 3 hours long. Science works, and it works well.
Hi everybody, my name is Robert Carter. I'm a speaker for Creation Ministries International.
Mercury, the Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. There is a place where we can have the Bible and science. It's a happy place. You have the Bible, history, science, all wrapped up into a nice, neat bundle.
Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuseth you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had ye believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?
We've come out to this nature area because that is the topic of today's talk. Earth. This is Earth, folks.
All things are attracted to all other things. They use the gravitational anomalies of 2 seen planets to discover an invisible planet. All of a sudden, it was like 2 or 3 summers ago, don't remember exactly, we had a whole bunch of CMI speakers all at the same time say, you know, I just ran into a flat earther. We had never heard of this. It's an urban myth invented to try to discredit Christianity. Go to creation.com, you can look that up for yourself. I don't have time to deal with it here. But all these flat earthers started popping up, and what on earth is this? And so when enough of that happened, we realized there was a trend going on.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come.
And there are some people who believe it. I don't know what the ratio is, but everywhere I go, NASA's a swear word. Yeah, NASA. Someone can float an idea in 30 seconds that might take you 3 days to figure out. When he created the universe, he would have done so according to his basic character traits.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
The universe is discoverable and knowable because God.
Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge?
So men like Johann Kepler, amazing astronomer, he discovered the 3 laws of planetary motion that drive all, anytime we want to send something into outer space, we have to account for these. And he says of his work, it was like thinking God's thoughts after him. But remember those horrible formulas? That's a cool thought. Can Satan deceive millions of people about simple math? No. Obvious realities are obvious realities. Prove me wrong. The earth is a tiny little place in the flat earth model. A little petty God. He is all-powerful and all-sufficient, and he didn't create this tiny little 25,000-mile diameter dome.
The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof.
I don't recommend you actually tangle with these people, because everything they say will take you hours to answer. If you're tangling with a flat earther or someone like that, understand they think they're special. They think God has revealed something to them that you don't have.
But when the Comforter is come, whom I will send unto you from the Father, even the Spirit of truth, which proceedeth from the Father, he shall testify of me. And ye also shall bear witness, because ye have been with me from the beginning.
I have not yet seen someone come out of this. You had to spend so much time learning this stuff, you kind of forget the rest of the world.
If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you.
And God said,
Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in.
And God said,
Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
And it was so. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens.
In 1970.
Now let's continue here in verse 13. Raging waves of the sea, foaming out their own shame. And then it says, wandering stars, to whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. Who in the world today is called a star? Well, we have your Hollywood stars. If you go to Hollywood, actors are called stars. And so they're stars. And then it says, of whom is reserved the blackness of darkness forever. What is the blackness of darkness forever? Well, I believe he's clearly talking about hell. Because in the Bible, there's a place where there's darkness forever. And it's called hell and the lake of fire.
Folks know you've been to school. Here's what it means. Geocentric means that the earth is the center of the universe. Heliocentric means that the sun is the center of the universe, known universe, our solar system, and everything revolves around the sun. With a geocentric view, the sun and everything revolves around the earth, and the earth is fixed where it is. Now, here's the thing. My little excursion into this has revealed that most of the people that believe in a geocentric view of the earth also believe that the earth is flat. All right, I'm done with him. Am I in a Sunday school class where the preacher believes that we have a flat earth? No, I'm not saying I believe it. But I like debate, don't you? I'm going to throw some things out there for you this morning. I love debate. If what you believe is real, and you really believe it, and you have a foundation for that belief, you should be able to defend it. I have no respect for somebody who says, well, I believe this and that, and you don't have anything to back it up. I'm not saying I believe in a flat earth. No. But there are some interesting points they make. Let me give you one. How many understand if the earth is a ball out here in space, then it has a curvature to it, right? It has a curvature. It's going to have a curvature. You're going to see a curvature. Now, what's going to be more apparent is the higher you get, the more you're going to be able to see the curvature, right? In other words, you have to get to a point in space where you're able to look down on the earth and see the curvature of the earth. And therefore, prove without a doubt that the earth is round. Now, this gets into the scientific geology or geography or whatever they are, who measure things like this. But did you know that in Lake Michigan, Chicago, Illinois sits on the western bank of Lake Michigan? How many of y'all know that? Chicago, Illinois, it's a good-sized town. At one time, Chicago was the second largest town in America. Chicago, Illinois. It sits right there. It butts right up against Lake Michigan. Right up against it, Lake Michigan. You can go 40 miles across the peninsular part of Michigan. I forget the name of the town over there, and it's in another state. And you can get out there on a boat 40-something miles away from Chicago and look across Lake Michigan, and you can see the skyline of Chicago, Illinois. A meteorologist was talking about what he called what is that thing? A mirage. A mirage. A phenomenon of a mirage. And he showed a picture of the skyline of Chicago, Illinois. And he said, now this is a classic mirage. I said, what do you mean? And so the meteorologist went into this big long scientific thing about how, well, now we have these reflecting bands of the earth, and we have this I forget what all he called it, but he said the light that is reflected off of Chicago, Illinois is coming up and it's hitting a certain point here, and then it's bouncing back down again. And so people 40 miles away are able to see Chicago. You see, they can see Chicago because that the light is coming up and bouncing down, and they can see it. All right? That makes sense, doesn't it? That makes sense for the curvature of the earth. How many are following me here now? See, he was trying to explain to people, how can we 40 miles away see Chicago? And he was explaining to them how that the light was coming up and bouncing back down, and it was a mirage. You weren't really seeing Chicago by looking straight at it. You were seeing a reflection of Chicago through the clouds and the atmosphere and whatever else is up there. So these guys up there, they got in this boat. You've always got somebody like this. They hooked up their cameras. They had to wait for a certain day to come clear enough, because 40 miles is a long way to see, folks. And they got in their boat, and they hooked up their cameras, and they focused in on Chicago, and you could barely see it. Barely, because of the haze and the distance. But they kept their cameras trained on Chicago, Illinois, and they began to cross Lake Michigan. And do you know something? Nothing ever changed except Chicago got clearer. Now, if you're following me in all of this, here's the point. If the earth is curved, they should not have been able to see Chicago 40 miles away. Is that right? How many of you know? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. How many of you know how far you have to go before you lose sight of the horizon that you were looking at, say 10 miles away? See? Is that what it is? 12 miles? All right. So how far do you have to go? 12 miles. So you go 15 miles, you're starting to, depends on how tall it is, you're beginning to lose sight of the horizon, whatever you saw on the horizon. How many follow me on this now? See? And so by the time you're 25 or 30 or 40 miles away, it should be completely gone because of the curvature of the earth. Well, why did they see Chicago? Now, I'm not saying I believe it, but it makes me think. How did they see Chicago? Airline pilots, when they go up, flight level, let's say 30 or 35, in other words, 30,000 or 35,000 feet in the air. Let's say they're up there at 35,000 feet. As they rise in that aircraft, did you know what amazing thing happens. The horizon rises. Now, if the horizon was curved, would it rise or would it fall? So you believe in the flat earth? No, but I believe in listen to what they got to say. You see, here's their point. Their point is that God made the earth, and he made everything else as it relates to the earth. And the earth is the center of God's plan for man. And that it is here the issue of sin and salvation is settled. And that because of that, the earth is primary and is of primary importance in God's creation. In plainer words, you're not going to find anything out there that is nearly as important as what you've got going on here. Now, as far as that's concerned, I go with them 100%. Got no problem with that, do you? No, sir. The Bible said the earth is his footstool. No problem with that whatsoever. But here's what they say. They say a sinister element has entered in. What's the sinister element? The sinister element is this: that since the earth is not the center of the universe or the center of the known creation as we understand it, therefore the earth is really not that important, that it's just a little speck out here in the end, and that what's really important is what's been going on up there, because what's going on up there has been coming down here to visit with us here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read a little more about the flat earth. Here's why. I may never believe the earth is flat, but I may learn a lot of things from it that may help me understand my Bible in ways that I could never understand it before. You say, well, now, preacher, haven't you seen the photographs that they take when they send up these spacecraft and they look down and here's this beautiful globe hanging right out in the middle of the sky? Right in the space, this beautiful globe in space. How do you explain that? Well, here's the way they explain it. They got about 8 or 9 or 10 different globes. And they say, notice how it's changed down through the years. Here's the point that they make. It's a simple point. Do you know anybody that's ever been able to go into orbit and come back? Do you know what 35,000 feet is in the air? 5, 6, 5, 7. That's 7 miles almost. All right. How high do you have to get in the air before you see the curvature of the earth? In other words, if you're not part of the military, or you're not part of the government, or you're not part of NASA, you don't have the capability of going into orbit. You see what I'm saying? In other words, everything you know about space and about what this earth looks like from space, you got it from NASA. Horizon. You begin to lose it. So here's the question. Let's bring you back to square one. If you lose the horizon, let's say at 12 miles, whatever you could see at 10 miles by 12, it's going under. You can't see it. Okay? How could you see Chicago, Illinois 40 miles away? And I'm not talking about just the tops of the skyscrapers. I'm talking about Chicago right there from the base up. Anybody got any ideas? Now, the meteorologist says that it was a mirage, but it was no mirage the day these guys got in this boat and sailed across the Lake Michigan and watched it as it went. Anybody got any idea? It's angry. That's aggravating, isn't it? You know what's aggravating about it? I'm not telling you that I believe in the flat earth, but what I am saying to you is, we're presented with something that doesn't have an easy answer. And when you get something that doesn't have an easy answer, people get uncomfortable, don't they? They get uncomfortable.
And the flat earth and the blah, 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 all this stupid junk that's meaningless. You know, they want to come at you with us, and you're just like, why? Why does it matter? Who cares? No! But no, we're going to win the world to Christ by proving that it's flat. Anybody who thinks it's flat is a moron. Who cares?
Whoa, dude, what if it's flat?
You can see the International Space Station with your naked eye. I've seen it. You know, you look up and people are looking at it and they got their binoculars and they're looking at it. And, you know, it's a little light dot and it's moving. No.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is.
Wherever it is, I don't like it, and I'm getting out of here.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast, they behold the beast, they behold the beast, they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, and chosen, and faithful.
Show you something in 1 John chapter 2 verse 26. These things I have written unto you concerning them that seduce you. We need to start understanding who our enemy is. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. We need to take these words seriously. Let's look at the word seduce. Leading astray, 4105 Strong's. Let's look at this. It is the root of the English term planet, wandering body. This term nearly always conveys the sin of roaming. I lead astray, deceive, cause to wander.
Him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. And against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host.
And I went round to a place where nothing was made, and I saw a terrible thing, neither the high heaven nor the firm ground, but a desert place, prepared and terrible. And there I saw 7 stars of heaven bound on it together, like great mountains, and burning like fire. 7 stars, like great burning mountains.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
Then I said, For what sin have they been bound, and why have they been thrown here? And Uriel, one of the holy angels, who was with me and led me, spoke to me and said, Enoch, about whom do you ask? About whom do you inquire, ask, and care? These are some of the stars which transgress the command of the Lord Most High, and they have been bound here until 10,000 ages are completed, the number of days of their sin.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth.
And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying,
Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying,
Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities.
And from there I went to another place, more terrible than this. And I saw a terrible thing. There was a great fire there, which burnt and blazed, and the place had no cleft reaching into the abyss, full of great pillars of fire, which were made to fall. Neither its extent nor its size could I see, nor could I see its source. Then I said, How terrible this place is, and how painful to look at. Then Uriel, one of the holy angels, who was with me, answered me. He answered me and said to me, Enoch, why do you have such fear and terror because of this terrible place and before this pain? And he said to me, This place is the prison of the angels, and there they will be held forever. 7 stars like great burning mountains, and like a spirit questioning me, the angels said, This is the place of the end of heaven and earth. This is the prison for the stars of heaven and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire, these are the ones which transgressed the command of the Lord from the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their proper times. And he was angry with them, and bound them until the time of the consummation of their sin, in the year of mystery. And Uriel said to me, The spirits of the angels who were promiscuous with women will stand here, And they, assuming many forms, made men unclean and will lead men astray so that they sacrifice to demons as gods. And there I saw 7 stars of heaven bound on it together, like great mountains, and burning like fire. This place is the prison of the angels, and there they will be held forever. And Uriel said to me, the spirits of the angels who were promiscuous with women will stand here, stand here, stand here. And they, assuming many forms, made men unclean and will lead men astray so that they sacrifice to demons as gods. And they will stand there until the great judgment on which they will be judged, so that an end will be made of them.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.
Mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me,
Wherefore didst thou marvel? And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Now, Revelation chapter 14, verse number 1, the Bible reads, And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. Now, we should expect to see the 144,000 here, but again, it said, I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. If you believe in the flat earth, you are a complete idiot. It says in verse 1 of chapter 7, And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So the Father's name written in their foreheads in Revelation 14 is here known as being sealed in their foreheads. And you know what? If you're one of these flat earthers, please, for the love of all that's holy. In chapter 7, it says, I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel after the tribulation, when the sun and moon are darkened. But it's before God pours out his wrath. Before he pours out the wrath, he's going to seal the 144,000. We've been dealing with a bunch of infiltrators lately. But we see from chapter 7 that these people are sealed in their foreheads, even if you don't believe what NASA told you. That's significant. It says, And as the voice of a great thunder, and I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung. So the harpers are singing. And it says, and they sung as it were a new song. At first I'm like, hey man, I'm not really interested in that. No thanks, no thanks, no thanks. Leave me alone! Hey, months later, I'm swimming laps at LA Fitness. I see the guy in the locker room. he walks up to me, hey, Pastor Anderson, brings up the flat earth. First sentence. Before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Don't tell me that the firmament is a solid dome. Flat earthers, they make all these wild-eyed claims about what the Bible teaches. So what we see here with the 144,000 is that they are singing a song that no one else can learn, where you say, oh, I'm a Bible-believing Christian, and then that makes you a flat earther, which makes you an idiot to anyone who knows any math or science. And that when they sing that song, they also play harps. We don't need somebody who's carried about and tossed about with every wind of internet crap. And when they sing that song, the Bible says that it's coming from heaven, because the voice of the song, it says here, it's coming from heaven.
What do you expect me to believe? We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour?
And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters. So where's the voice coming from? From heaven. Well, wait a minute. How are you going to find 144,000 that are males and that are virgins and that are believers in Jesus Christ? Now look, they're believers, they're males, and they're virgins. Locusts from hell come. They stay away from the 144,000. It says that they torment everybody who doesn't have the seal of God in their foreheads. A bunch of flat earthers out there. I believe that on this earth, Moses and Elijah are obviously going to, or the two witnesses, whoever they are, we believe is Moses and Elijah. And this flat earth thing, people will say, yeah, but, you know, if we could just get people to believe in the flat earth, then they'll realize there's a God and they'll believe in God. Because the Bible talks a lot about how everybody in the world is hearing their preaching. Everybody in the world hates them and wants them dead and is happy when they die. So Jesus went and did the first climb of Everest with no oxygen, because there's no record of Lucifer or Jesus having oxygen up there. According to the flat earthers, right? And he's up on Everest looking at all the kingdoms of the world. That is retarded. That is just insane. Because the Bible talks a lot about how everybody in the world is hearing their preaching. Everybody in the world hates them and wants them dead and is happy when they die. Oh, if we could just get people to believe in God, then they'll be saved. Really? This flat earth phenomenon. And I hate this stupid subject. I think the 144,000 will have a more local ministry because they can be scattered throughout the whole world. And I told you this church makes you smarter. Now what we believe is that the earth is turning. The sun's moving, everything's moving. The sun's moving, the earth's moving. That is dumb. Okay, give me a break. And so I don't want anything to do with it. And guess what? Believing in God doesn't get you to heaven. And they're going straight to hell. And in fact, in the end times, when the Antichrist comes, is he an atheist Antichrist? Is the Antichrist going to show up and say, you know, I am here to give you the message of the Big Bang. I am the God. I mean, look, hey, he's going to say, hey, you've heard of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? I'm the God of Captain Kirk. I'm the God of Spock. I'm the God of Captain Sulu. You know, I am here to tell you the truth of the cosmosity. No, what he's actually going to do is he's going to teach them the God of forces. He's going to declare himself to be God. That's not atheism. You see, the devil has used atheism over the last 100 and some years just to tear down the Bible, tear down morals, tear down society. Once he gets people off the God of the Bible, you know what he's going to do? He's going to get them back to believing in God again. The wrong God. The God of this world. the devil.
Elon Musk, pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
So this is the Dragon that goes up into space and is going to go up on Monday, correct?
Yeah, that's our Dragon spacecraft, or version 1, which is capable of taking cargo to and from the space station, including biological cargo like fish and mice and that kind of thing.
So when do human beings start going up in it, you think?
So we expect to complete version 2 of Dragon, which will have astronaut transport capability in about 2 years.
And most of what you do now is send satellites up into space, right? That's how you pay the bills.
Exactly.
But you want to do something much more ambitious with SpaceX.
Yeah, I mean, the long-term aspiration is to develop the technologies necessary to transport a large number of people and cargo to Mars in order to create a self-sustaining civilization there. In order to create a self-sustaining civilization there. And that's really why I started the company, was because it seemed as though...
To create the possibility for life on other planets.
He's going to declare himself to be God.
To create the possibility for life on other planets. To create the possibility for life on other planets.
Yeah, exactly. What I really want to try to achieve here is to make Mars seem possible. There are really two fundamental paths. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. The alternative is to become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species. Why Mars?
He's going to declare himself to be God.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, these flat earthers, it's their whole religion. They're obsessed with it. We've had flat earthers in our church that just is all they talk about. All they talk about. I mean, I had this guy, I finally just got in his face and yelled at him because I'm just like, I don't care about the flat earth. I'm sick of you talking to me. What do you not understand when I said I have no interest? I'm not interested. Hey, months later, I'm swimming laps at LA Fitness. I see the guy in the locker room. He walks up to me, hey, Pastor Anderson, brings up the flat earth, first sentence. And just as the apostles in Acts 2, remember they were all Galileans, but they spake with other tongues, and they were able to give the gospel to people from all over the world. I think the 144,000 are going to come back to preach the gospel to all nations and languages and tongues, and to preach the gospel. You say, well, how do you know they're going to be preaching the gospel? Well, look at the next verse. After the 144,000 are described, it says they are without fault before the throne of God. Look at verse 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. So what we see here is
stick something in your brain. You want it to not be giant. You want it to be tiny. Yeah. You won't feel a thing. And this is what the robot looks like. It's sort of quite a complex device, but it all comes down to a very tiny point. So we want to just like, you see the robots on the left, and then the what looks like the needles for insertion next to a penny, but in fact the actual needle that gets inserted is way tinier. It's that little tiny thing at where the arrow is pointing.